Later that day, steam swirled around his head and the hot water stung his chest. The water was so hot he could taste the vapors of steam as they swirled past his nostrils toward the ceiling. Eric's mind was numb. He kept hoping this was some twisted bad dream and he would emerge from the shower and wake up, but he knew better. First thing he had done on arriving at the simple but clean hotel room was call the funeral home. Things hadn't gone well, he remembered. Hello? Kavanaugh's funeral home? I'd like to make arrangements for my brother, Sean Murphy. No, I don't know what hospital the coroner has him in. No, I don't want the deluxe job with 2-night viewing. I don't even know if I want one. He just moved here and he doesn't know anyone. I don't know if I want to ship him home. I hadn't thought about it. No, I don't have a cemetery plot locally. Listen, all I know is he's dead, okay? Give me directions and I'll be down after I contact the coroner or the sheriff's department to find him. Thank you. Eric remembered slamming the phone down in frustration. Now he stood beneath the almost scalding hot water, trying to wash away the stench of death. Finally satisfied, he climbed out of the shower and patted himself dry with a towel, noting the redness on his skin from the shower. Then, walking naked to the bed, he flopped down and closed his eyes. Boom, boom, boom. A thundering knock at the door woke Eric with a start. Boom, boom, it sounded again. Wait a minute, Eric yelled as he tried to blink his sleep away. Hold your horses. Eric got up, fumbling to get his pants on. Yeah, what do you want? Eric said loudly, walking to the door, stepping into his jeans. Eric Murphy, a deep voice called from the other side of the door. Who's asking? Eric called, looking through the peephole, trying to see who it was. Police, Mr. Murphy. We'd like a word with you, the voice replied. Can I see some identification? Eric demanded cautiously. An open flip folder appeared in front of the peephole with a badge and an ID card, but Eric couldn't read either through the hole, but he figured it was okay. Hang on a sec, he called, and started to unbolt the door. I thought I was supposed to call and set up an appointment or to come down. He never finished. As the lock clicked open, the door flew open, knocking Eric to the floor. Before he could react, 2 men burst into the room and were on Eric in an instant, pummeling him and knocking the wind out of him. He tried to fight back, but he couldn't breathe, and he stopped fighting quickly. Where is it? One of the men demanded. The man pulled Eric to his feet, pinning his arms behind him. We can do this the easy way, a voice said in his ear, or we can do it the hard way, it warned. Do what? Eric answered, baffled, wincing from the pain in his shoulders. The other man standing in front of Eric hit him viciously in the stomach. So much for the easy way, the voice said, tightening its grip. Eric tried to double over, but the man held him up. His lungs burned and his chest ached from the blow. He felt like he was drowning. After a moment, Eric managed weakly. What do you guys want? That should be obvious, Mr. Murphy, the voice whispered in his ear. Okay. Well, it's on the TV. It's all there, I swear. The man in front of him smiled wickedly and drew back, measuring Eric for another blow. A curt nod from the one holding Eric stopped him. No, you fool. This isn't a simple robbery. You are Eric Murphy, little brother of Sean Murphy, correct? Eric winced as the vice-like grip on his arms tightened more. Yes, I'm Eric Murphy. Eric felt like he was almost screaming. The burning in his arms and chest was so intense. Good. We're making progress. Now where is it? Tell me, and we'll let you go, the voice whispered harshly in his ear. Eric was confused. I'll gladly tell you where it is, when you tell me what it is. The answer earned him another shot in the ribs. Tick, 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 Eric, my friend. May I call you Eric? There is no reason to be difficult. What can you do with so much anyway? And it's not like Sean didn't leave you set. You're gonna be a wealthy man, even without the gold. Eric was more confused than ever. What gold? What wealth? How do you know Sean's affairs? I don't even know them. All I know is he's dead, Eric shouted in a feeble rage. His vision wavered, and his mind spun, trying to make sense of all he had just heard. For your sake, Mr. Murphy, I hope you're not lying to me. I'd be very unhappy, and that wouldn't be good." The voice in his ear whispered, almost soothing. The man in front of him produced a syringe and a small bottle, and went through the ritual of filling the syringe with great care. "What's that?" Eric asked, beginning to struggle, but he was hopelessly pinned. "Relax, Mr. Murphy. Relax. It won't be as hard on you if you relax. It's just something to ensure you're telling the truth. But I must warn you of the side effects. They can be most unpleasant if your body remains so tense. Don't fight it. Please. Of course, it will also be unpleasant for you if we find out you've been lying to us." With a wicked grin on his face, the big man with the needle loomed over Eric. He fought wildly against the man holding him, but it was no use. He felt the cool sensation of alcohol, then the prick of a needle as it was plunged into his arm. He felt the cool fire of the injection. Then, little by little, he began to relax. He had no urge to resist anymore, and he couldn't quite remember why he wanted to in the first place. Then, slowly, everything around him lost its perspective. He felt himself falling, and laughed at the two distorted-looking faces that looked down at him. When they spoke, it sounded like he was underwater. He found that funny too, but he wasn't sure why. Then as the faces gazed at him, they disappeared into the blackness, and nothing seemed anything anymore. Eric felt himself being lifted. It seemed like he was just floating along. The sensation of moving went on for some time, but that was okay. He was just floating out there in a pleasant dream, like he was drifting with the tide, floating on the water, with his eyes and ears closed. Then he was in a cool place, but he didn't mind that either. A bright light shone in his eyes, so he closed them. When he opened them, the two funny faces were there again. Then a third one joined them. That was nice, he thought, kind of like a party. The new face talked to him, so he laughed. It seemed funny to him. He didn't understand why the three funny-looking faces weren't laughing too. Oh well, he didn't care. The new face spoke again. This time he answered, but it didn't make sense to him. Nothing did, except the funny faces. He and the new face talked for some time. They asked about Sean. Sean would like them, he thought. He wondered absently if Sean was floating in a dream somewhere. But no, Sean was dead. Somehow that seemed funny too. The bright light went out, and he floated away again. After a time, he drank some water. It burned like fire all the way down, exploding in his stomach, but he drank more and more. He guessed he was thirsty. Then, Eric seemed to fall forever, but when he landed this time he wasn't floating. He landed hard, but it was okay. His face was being pushed into a funny position, and it was dark, and for some reason, that was the funniest thing that happened all night. First he sensed the cold. It seemed to creep right through him, but he felt reluctant to move. If he kept still, maybe it would go away. He dreamed of trains thundering past him, but if he didn't move, they too went away. Finally he noticed a taste, a dusty, dry, unpleasant taste. Maybe it would go away too if he didn't move. But he did. When he moved, the cold became unbearable. His muscles cramped and screamed at him, and his eyes began to pound. Opening his eyes, he tried to focus. One eye saw white, the other saw black. Through a tremendous effort, he raised his head. It took him a moment to orient himself. He had been lying on the edge of a road, half of his face right on the white line. Eric brushed at tiny rocks stinging his face, embedded there from lying on the road for some time. He tried to collect his thoughts, to remember how he had gotten there, but his memory contained only mismatched fragments. His head pounded. It was dark, but the sky was turning gray in the east. Dawn? Or was it dusk? God, how did he end up here? Eric shook his head to clear it, instantly regretting the action. He noticed the strong, biting smell of whiskey burning in his nostrils for the first time. His chest was sticky, and his pants soaked with liquid. Close by was a nearly empty bottle of Jack Daniels. His memory flashed to the burning drink of water, and changed to a bottle being forced down his throat. But just as quickly as it came, the image left him, leaving him unfocused and baffled. He ignored the pounding in his head and struggled to his feet. He decided it must be dawn. The horizon was growing lighter. How did he get here? Images flashed in his mind, but nothing made sense. Nothing had made sense since he had gotten to Virginia. Early morning mist swirled around, evaporating with the coming of the sun. A A sound caught his ear. He remembered dreaming of trains. A car flashed by out of the mist, barely missing him. "Holy shit!" he yelled, jumping off the road. "It's a wonder nobody flattened me while I was lying there," he thought, looking where he had been half on and half off the road. Eric stopped, looked around, and looked down at himself. Nothing around. In the middle of nowhere, it seemed. All he had on was his pants. No shirt, no socks, no shoes. He briskly rubbed his arms against the chill. "Where am I?" he asked out loud. He turned his head as he heard the sound of another car, this one coming slower. As the car came in sight, a spotlight reached out, shining in Eric's eyes, making him wince. Red and blue lights began flashing as a brown sedan from the Fauquier County Sheriff's Department pulled off the road in front of Eric. Eric started moving toward the cruiser, feeling relieved, but it was soon to be short-lived. "Remain where you are," a voice commanded as the two deputies exited the car cautiously, hands hovering close above their holstered weapons. "All right, boy, put your hands up real easy now," the driver ordered, his partner moving away from the car to flank Eric. "Boy, am I glad to see you guys," Eric said, relief evident in his voice as he raised his hands, turning his head quickly, trying to watch and focus on both officers. The deputy worked his jaw back and forth as he gave Eric a hard once-over glance before answering, "Are you now?" Eric just nodded. "Okay, boy, move toward the car slowly and place both hands on the hood," the officer ordered. "But you got it all wrong," Eric stammered, still trying to focus. "Boy, don't make me tell you twice. It's been a long shift and I ain't in the mood," the deputy threatened. Eric sighed, but moved forward and placed both hands on the hood and spread his legs like he had seen the suspects do on television. The deputy moved around behind Eric and patted him down while his partner covered him from a distance. "You got any ID, boy?" the deputy asked in a clipped formal tone when he finished his inspection. "Yeah, but not on me," Eric answered neutrally. "We received a call saying there was a dead body out here on the highway, but you don't look dead to me," the officer relayed, almost sounding disappointed. "Listen, officer, there's been some mistake. My name is Eric Murphy, and I don't know how I got here," Eric pleaded as fear and confusion mounted in him. The deputies chuckled together knowingly. "Well, son," the deputy to his left said, "old Jack Black'll do that to you on occasion. Won't he, Ben?" "That he will, Verge, that he will. Anyway, boy, you can tell all that to the judge, but you gotta go with us. You've been a danger to yourself and unwary motorists." Eric sat quietly in the back of the cruiser on the way into Warrington, still trying to figure out what happened last night. He would get flashes of clarity, images that seemed dreamlike, but real. So much happening so fast. He closed his eyes and wished Sean was there. Sean would know what to do. By the time they locked him in the holding cell, Eric thought he had an idea of what happened. He didn't know why, but at least he didn't feel like he was losing his mind anymore. But he did feel mentally exhausted, as well as physically. So he lay down on the hard, narrow bunk and went fast asleep.